Now, you said that you never really had a drive or a thought to enter into film. Okay, so you make that decision and discern, oh, maybe I want to direct this. Um, that's a huge, I mean, most people think I want to be a director, and that might be a lifelong journey. And what was that like for you going from this place of, again, of this place of healing, then to like, I'm going to actually go make something? What was that like?
Yeah, so what was actually really interesting was that in the very middle of that healing journey, like I honestly was not even like I was living my faith and I was acting as a Catholic and perhaps was like willing to own it publicly, but still inside did not feel like I was Catholic at all. Like I was I think the journey back to sort of a centeredness in the faith took perhaps 8 years. So this was in the middle of that, where some work had been done in secret, but I was contracted by the Diocese of Dallas Young Adult office to help them with a marketing and strategy for an event that they were doing in the center of Dallas that was like a an arts festival, South by Southwest flavored type evangelical outreach to young adults who were unchurched or dechurched in the diocese. And uh, I pitched them the idea of centering it on the reasons why people leave their faith. And as we were doing Barna studies and kind of or as we were digging into the research, um, it materialized very quickly that like you would think that perhaps all the hot button topics that are political are the things that would be um, the causes of disassociation, but really it had a lot more to do with the data was showing that it had a lot more to do with people's ability to make sense of suffering and doubt and and frankly their ability to have conversations about those things inside of the church environment. Um, and so I was like, we could dramatize Colby's last 14 days as a dialogue between these men who are doubting and who are in grief and who are like who have no faith in God at all, um, with a saint voluntarily entering into that to sort of pastor them through those questions, sort of similar to how it felt like he was doing that for me. And eventually they decided to go for the idea, and I had done quite a few video commercial type projects, even some narrative short films that were like branded content. And so I went ahead and like wrote the script. It was like beautiful script, and a lot of people were really like moved by it. And so decided to go ahead and start casting it, directed it, and it was on set while we were there for this short film. We were shooting in a barn in Texas. We are like, couldn't find a concrete bunker, so we went ahead and shot in a barn. What all we really needed was a room anyway, and it worked. It's low budget, but it was really beautiful. And while we were shooting it, there was these moments where it really felt like heaven was touching earth. It was just like the veil was being torn open, and right before our eyes, just for the small cast and crew, Um, we were getting to witness heaven like entering into the world, um, and uh, that's perhaps the best I could describe it. It was shocking, like the spiritual um, like flame that was burning in that space, and um, I realized that I had a gifting or an anointing to be able to um, help actors to find uh, layers down like in their very selves, like their connection to the story and to this sort of spiritual idea that a scene was written to articulate. um I just remember a particular moment when I was trying to get the actor that was playing Maximilian Colby to help this young man Albert like to put away an implement that he was using to try and kill himself. And um, the like basically like helping to get this actor to fully express in a like completely vulnerable way what it would be like for a father to be cherishing his son and like pleading for his son to sort of hold on to hope in the midst of that moment. In the way that it felt like Coley was doing that for me, like in my own kind of dark night of the soul. And I gave a few notes that sort of like snapped him into the space, and all of a sudden, like this like spiritual tidal wave is like unleashed through the performance. And it was like I think all of us who were standing around who saw it happen were like looked at each other and just were like, this is sacred ground. Like we wanted to take off our shoes, and we knew that there was something there bigger in terms of like a bigger story to be told. And that experience happened when we showed it at the event, and it felt like a tidal wave. If you've ever been in a room where like a spiritual atomic bomb goes off and people are just like disoriented and they don't even know like where they are anymore. Like it was kind of like that. And so all that to say, I was gnawing on it in the background, and I knew like this little team that we had put together to make this had something really special to say with a bigger project. At the time, I think my big question was just like, who the heck is going to give me somebody who's never directed a movie before, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars, like basically asking somebody to buy me a house. Um, how would I ever get somebody to trust me with that kind of money? And it turned out to be the case that the Catholic world is a lot more generous and um, like willing to invest in things that has God's sort of hand on it. And people like business people in Dallas could really see that and decided to help me out in an incredible outflow of generosity. We raised the money um, as within 5 months of me starting asking for it, which was just like unbelievable. And so yeah, we found ourselves in Poland shortly after that, with no no idea who we were going to talk to about doing it, how to navigate the language. Any contacts in the film industry is like, you know, one of the craziest things I've ever done in my life. But we went out there, and then 3 months later, we 4 months later, we came back with a movie.
It's wild. There's so many thoughts I have. We'll even see what I can recall. That you answered several questions I had, and one of them was like this renewed faith you had. Um, how did that play out on set? Now I know you were speaking sort of to that short before the actual feature, but still, um, it's amazing. You say that you basically felt the spirit there, and I related to that because I had a I felt called to film for a long time, um, and I remember being in theaters has always been incredibly like cathartic, very psycho emotionally powerful for me. Like I was very picky with what movies I went to see because they would impact me on like such a almost a ridiculous level. And there was one movie I was watching. It was a Christian film. I remember in theaters, and I was going through some personal stuff, and this was 10 years ago or something. And I was praying in the theater, and I felt uh, something like you described. It was God reaching out to me in this place that um, my heart and my mind were just always opened in the theater, and I it was like a hole opened above me, and I felt the presence of God. And like immediately, I have like my eyes fill with tears, um, and I remember he showed me how the reality of his existence. And I remember I'm like, I don't, what the heck's happening right now? I'm just trying to watch a movie. I have a struggle going on in my early 20s. Again, like I think a lot of people do, and significant struggles. But um, I remember thinking, okay, I feel his reality of his existence. Let me try to doubt him right now. Like I want to actively try because I think just to test this. And I could not doubt him. And I thought, let me remember this feeling because there's gonna be a time when I'm not gonna remember how I feel right now, but I want to remember the fact that I tried to doubt him and I couldn't. And I couldn't. I couldn't doubt him. And that stuck with me um, through other dark periods is I think Mother Teresa kind of went through something similar where even in Dark Night of the Soul, she recalled back to these moments of like, no, I know he's real. I know he's touched me in these moments, even if I can't feel him now. And I think it's interesting that he was so present when you're making just even that you're in that barn. Um, there's so many things to say there. I think people do not consider the power of the spirit in something as significant as filmmaking because your imagination, the viewer's imagination, is totally open, and I think that's why Satan attacks it so fiercely and why he has such a grip on it. Is
Yeah.
it's profoundly impactful for people, and if we call on him like you did and your crew, he can. And I think the Passion of the Christ. This was clear too that it happened there that he can elevate performances by his grace, and it's at a heavenly level that we can never hope to achieve. Thank you for taking the time to watch and listen to this conversation. If you enjoyed it, please like, follow, subscribe, all of those options, and share it with anyone who you think might enjoy this conversation as well. And finally, should you feel so called, I ask for any support that you can give. It allows me to continue having conversations like this to share with others, and be that a prayer, which is more than enough, or monetarily, I'm grateful for all of it. So again, thank you so much, and God bless.